Welcome back, everyone, for the day 3 for our Selenium live training. We are continuing with the first project which we started to do on the Selenium IDE using a sample application, and that application was southwest.com. Let's continue with where we left it in the previous session. Let's do a quick summary of it, and then we will move on with day 3. So team, primarily what we're trying to do out here is make sure we build our fundamentals very strongly on one, the basics of automation. What is automation and how it works? Second is to make sure that we understand the process of moving from a manual testing to automation testing, and how do we go about doing our first initial baby steps on Selenium IDE. That's the whole agenda of what we've done so far, team. Let me quickly open up our Google Drive where I've stored in SLT September 2015. That's the folder. And we've created our project 1 notes. We did some amount of walkthrough of it. So this documents team have not yet been shared with you, but what I will be doing is as we go through the sessions, I will try and make sure that you have access to these documents as a zipped file at the end of each project. So today's session, what we will do is make sure that we finish up with Selenium IDE, do a few things, learn its limitations and why we need to move to Selenium WebDriver. And then towards the second part of it, I will talk about how we start working with Selenium WebDriver, all the needed components that are to be installed for it, how do we go about doing it. All right. Now, at this time, team, let's see where we are with our test cases. We did 3 test cases, and all these test cases were made as manual test cases, and we have then done automation using Selenium IDE. Can you all hear me okay, team? All right, great. If any one of you is not able to listen, let me put a message, because we have, like I said, dozens of participants out here, hundreds of them, so it's convenient for all. Let's make sure it's good for everyone too. One quick second, please. All right, so I've sent that message to all. All right, team, great. Let's get going with the Selenium IDE. Now, test case 3, test case 2, and test case 1, all of them have been put in what? Can you all mention where did we put these test cases for automation? Where were they placed? Selenium IDE, correct? Now, out of this, how did we put them? Are they, what kind of a format is it? When I say format, not the file format, but the structure. And each of the times, team, I'm asking a question, I'm expecting an answer from the Q&A. That's how we keep it interactive, so that whatever we have covered, we revise them, we make sure that our understanding is perfect. HTML is the format which we will look at it right now, but we did a record and run, that's correct, for the first 2 test cases. The second test case, we did not do a record. We created our own custom test case by using simple ways of writing the commands, the target, which is nothing but the xPath to identify that specific element, and any value if needed, right? So we stored them, if you all remember, as test suite. So the test suite is like the master. It contains multiple test cases, like test case 1, 2, 3 till n. And each test case is built on multiple test steps. So that is how the overall structure is in terms of creating your Selenium scripts. So once you have saved your test cases and your test suite, you can open them. So if you look at menu, the first few options are only about the test case. The next one down are all about the test suite. So let's open up the test suite. If you go in to the folder where it is there, here are the different test suites that we did. The last one that we worked on was the SW_test suite 2. Let's open it up using Selenium IDE. and you'll see what happened. Where are the test cases for it? Open test suite. Maybe it went to a different folder. Let me see. That's test suite 1. Yeah, test suite 1. Ah, okay. Looks like I've saved everything under test suite 1 team. So in this, we have the Southwest test case 1, test case 2, and test case 3. All test cases are here. Now, what format does this save in our system? And if you noticed, my speed at which that I'm executing and going through the first few sessions is very slow, so that you get comfortable and you make sure that your fundamentals are very strong. So if I go into that folder, SLT SCP-2015 on my system, and look at these files, the different ones, and let's say I try and open any of them. For example, let's just say this specific test suite or first one. Okay, I say open. Do you notice this team out here? It is nothing but a simple table. It says here is the test case 1. It is only opening up one. It has opened this in a browser. How did it open it in a browser and showing it in the tabular format? It's got a name. It's got 3 columns. What are those 3 columns that it's got? What's the first column? Everyone, interact with me, please. Give me the answers when I'm asking it over the chat. Where can I answer? You can answer exactly at the same place where you're asking this question. Same place, you all can provide the answers. Once again, a quick housekeeping. None of you can see the questions from other members. Only the moderators can see. But the answers, once I'm giving it verbally, you all can hear. The first one is the command. What is it that we will do? That first W, remember the what portion. The second one, what is it? The second column that you see here, that's the target. Target is nothing but how we identify the elements through which we know where that element is located on a given page. And the last one, the third column, what does it contain? That's the value. That is exactly, if you look at, similar in terms of appearance of how you see your Selenium IDE test case. Do you see this? It is exactly the same out here. Now, when you execute a test case in IDE and save it, it gets saved as a specific format, that is HTML. HTML is your hypertext markup language, the basic building block for any web-based application. All right. Now, all that you can see is right click on this page and say view page source. This is how it is stored, team. So any information that is there in here is sufficient for Selenium IDE to understand and run the code. So the way this works, team, this is one of the most important concepts. So please focus on this. Your application under test is in a browser. It is a web-based application, correct? What is a web-based application? The application that can be opened and used using any browser is a web-based application. What are the other types of applications? Other types of applications are client server applications, which you install on your local machine and which is like a program. For example, your Microsoft Word or Excel or Outlook or even any browser files, any of these, or Eclipse, all of these are there on a system. So our web-based application, which is there under test, it needs to get inputs. What to do, how to do. Who's passing that information to the application? Can someone tell me? Which website to go? What buttons or links to click? Where to put information? Who's providing that information to this web-based application? Not the user team. User is not yet doing it. It is the Selenium IDE in between which is doing it. The Selenium IDE is passing. But who is teaching Selenium IDE how to do? This is Selenium IDE. I'm just going to call it as SI. Now it is the user. We are giving instructions and the Selenium IDE is translating that so that it can perform that on the application. The user that we have out here is speaking in a specific language and format, and that language is English. Okay. Most of the instructions that you see are very self-explanatory. For example, open something, click here, type something, select something. These are English commands. Now these English commands have to go to the application under test. How do we do it? Then we have a specific programming language format that both can be used by Selenium IDE to understand and make the activities happen on the application. And that format right now is in HTML. That is the most basic format that Selenium IDE comes with, team. When we want to move to the next level in a few minutes from now, I will show you how we change this format into a different programming language. So all that you have to focus right now is that we give commands in a specific methodology. The Selenium IDE understands them and then gives the instructions to the application using a HTML source file. All the test cases, test suite that we save gets saved as a HTML file. Fair enough, everyone? Now, let's go to our test case and try and improve. Where's the Eclipse? Oh, there you go. Try and improve. Where is IDE? Did it get closed? There were few of these test cases that we kept some of the steps in red. Why did we keep them in red? Because we did not complete the automation part of it. And those were the ones where we are saying that we want to verify something. So if I just run the test case number 3, how can I run a single test case? Use the second button. The first button, the one I'm pointing to, runs the entire test suite. Test suite means multiple test cases. The one right to it will only run that specific test case that is selected. So let me click on it and see how it will run. But do you need to see how it is executing? Do you have to watch while the execution is happening? Yes. Why? Because you're still building it. You're still developing it. So you want to make sure that you see it is doing exactly the same the way you instructed. All right. So I'm going to reduce the speed of execution. And let's run it. And like I said, team, it is not at all essential for you to be a great master at Selenium IDE. I'm using it to teach just the fundamentals. What the industry really requires is not IDE. It requires you to be very good at WebDriver and a core programming language. So we've completed all of these steps, team. And did we click on the search button at the end? We have not, right? Didn't we automate that? I don't see it here. Do you see it? It says select 2 adults, select 1 senior, but after that, where is click on the search? How do we add this now? All we have to do is select the blank space after it, and exactly the same way we performed for the other test steps, we will do it for this. Okay, so how do we do that? First the command, then the target, then the value. What is the command? You should never have a question which is very fundamental. Why? Because we believe very strongly in documentation. We have documented every step that we want. So this, after selecting the 2 adults, this is the one that we're trying to do. In fact, there's one more step in between that we inserted. Let's do that too. Insert one above. Copy this and paste it out here. So we've selected 2 adults and 1 senior, correct? Select 2 adults. Now select 1 senior. And here also 1 senior. Finally, we're going to click on the search button and verify search results. Okay, so to click on the search button, how do we do it, team? What is the command to click on a button? The command is click. Now, should we use click or click and wait? If you remember, there are 2 ways for you to learn anything. One is through experience. You've seen me doing it, or you have done it, and over a period of time you get better at it. Or 2, by trial and error. That is all about programming, team. You try something, it will not work, you keep trying, sometimes it will work. That gets converted to experience as well. So is it going to be click or click and wait? All these questions that I'm asking, team, please use the Q&A section to put it. Why is it click and wait? Why is it not click then? Why is it? The reason being, once you click on the search button, the page will start loading. It may take half a second or even 5 seconds. We are not aware of it. So there is a default timeout. What happens and why this is essential, let me explain to you very quickly. Every automation tool has something called as a timeout. Okay, timeout is when the automation run gives up in executing a step because it is not able to find the element or there is some issue and it throws an error. That is a default timeout. Why is the timeout required? Because web-based applications may take some time to load components of it. So let us say I say click this button, it goes to the next page, and I say click another link there. If there is not too much of waiting time in between, before the page loads, it will say, oops, there's no link here, I didn't find it, here is an error. To avoid that, we give a default timeout in all automation tools, and that timeout we use within IDE in this section. So if you go under tools, open your IDE, go under options, and if you click on the options out here, you will see there are quite a few tabs. You do not have to be alarmed, you don't have to be mastering anything right now, just a few basic ones as we go along. All right, the first thing that you have to remember out here is the default timeout value of recorded command in milliseconds. So 30 seconds is 30,000 milliseconds. So here the timeout is 30 seconds right now. If it is too huge, you do not want your test to wait so long, and you know your pages load quicker, you can reduce it. Let's say I'll only put 10 seconds. Okay, that is the timeout that is essential, team. The everything else for now, do not worry. We are not too concerned about anything else right now. As and when needed, we will experience it, we will learn it. Right now, just the timeout we've changed to 10. I'm going to say OK to it, and now the command is ready. What about the target? How do we find the target? Again, IDE makes it easy for us to do it. We can simply use the select command and select that specific button. But do I want you to go that route? Which route am I suggesting for you to go? I'm asking you to write your own custom XPath. Why, when we have an easier solution, why am I making you work harder, spend more time on it? The reason being, you should be able to quickly see how an XPath is built or how you have recorded it and still be able to fix it if there are issues. If you're not master at writing an element identification using CSS or XPath, you will not be able to handle complex situations which come ahead of time. Okay, so that is fundamental. Let's say that you're learning to ride a bike. Okay, just a bike. Would you say that I want to go at all the speed initially, or would you try and brake often initially? So you go a few meters, you'll brake. You go a few meters, you'll brake. Why do we do it? Because braking is important, not when you're beginning alone. Even when you become an expert rider, you know that the braking will work in a certain way, when you should brake, how you should brake, all that you build. Braking will slow down the speed, not necessary when you're learning going at low speed, but when you get at high speed, you need to know exactly how it works. That is the same here, team. So once you know how to write your own XPath, you will be controlling and you'll be able to get out of challenging situations, especially with dynamic applications. That time this will really help you. So help me in building the XPath. What are the steps for it? We have also documented it clearly, correct? And always follow the pattern, team. Try and stick with a process. Do not jump into anything. Right click on the element, select inspect element with Firebug, copy the entire HTML code for that element, paste it into a notepad or Word or text editor, get the HTML tag, unique attribute or element name, attribute name and value. Build the XPath in this specific structure. Copy it into IDE, and that's it. No, you want to be able to test and verify if it finds that specific element using the find button next to target. Test it by using the so and so. If it doesn't work, then what do you do? All right. So now let's follow the same protocol, because this is where the fundamental lies. So first step, this is the element. Right click on it. Click on inspect element with Firebug. If any of you do not see this option, what does that mean? You may all see inspect element, but you may not see inspect element with Firebug. It is okay to use inspect element also, but Firebug is a tool built specifically for Firefox, which helps developers, in fact, web developers, to go into the code and make some certain changes to see how the application changes quickly. All right. For us, we're using it so that we can get the element identifications and the details for our automation purpose. So, inspect element with Firebug. Click on that thing. And out here, it takes you exactly, there may be hundreds and thousands of lines of code for this HTML page. We don't want to be concerned about anything, just the one which is pertaining to that specific button. So copy the whole thing and do not skip any of these steps, team. When you start, always keep them as is. Okay, that's how we build a methodology of executing things. Now the first thing that comes here, once you pasted it, is how do we identify it? What is the HTML tag for this element, everyone? What is the HTML tag? Button. Whatever you see right after the less than symbol is the HTML tag. As simple as that. So button. Next comes, what do we write next? See, there's so much of interaction happening. That is great, team. I'm just enjoying the kind of answers I'm getting, because you are answering yourself. What you know, you're verifying it. We don't get ID, we don't get at, we don't get type. There's one character which comes. It is the open square bracket. Remember that. Next, what comes? The @ symbol. After that, what does come? It's the attribute name of a property and a value. Very similar to what we were talking about in terms of like identifying a human. You want a name, you want a phone number, or you want an email, and so on. So email is like attribute name. My email, let's say learn@itelearn.com, is the attribute value. In this case, it is submit button is the no. Is it submit button that's attribute value, or ID? ID is an attribute value. Will it work? I don't know, but I'm not worried, because my process says I'm going to try with one or two. Over a period of time, it will become an experience. But once it fails, I know how to try an alternate one. At ID equals single quote, then the value of it called submit button, and put it in here, change it, and end quotes and square brackets. Copy the whole thing. Let's put it back out here. And what do we do now? Should we say select or should we say find? Select is going to help you too much. It's going to go and get that XPath as it needs. And it will be different from the one you've created, team. It does not matter. Okay. As long as it identifies, it's okay. Selenium IDE does it differently. We're going to do it in a very structured manner always, because that is a sure short way of making things work. So we're going to click on find, because we want to be able to find. Is there any object blinking in the application? It is not. Do I see any issues out here? No. Why don't I see issues out here? Because I'm not in the log tab. So click on the log tab. And now let's see if we see any issues. Too much of content out here. It can confuse. Just click on clear. See, we are slowly exploring each and every component within the IDE to make sure we run it and understand it slowly, gradually. Nothing comes up at the same time. Okay, so now let's click on find again and see. So it's saying locator not found. What does it mean? That Selenium IDE is telling you back, master, you are saying find it, I am unable to find. Now it is saying, did you give me all the information? What should I change in it? If you remember, the format of the code that we see coming from a Word document out here changes a little bit. So delete it and re-enter it to be a single quote. Okay, now let's say find. Does it find it? Why it does not find? How many of you know the answer, team, to this? I want everyone to give me an answer. Everyone. This is where the eye for detail comes for software professionals. And that eye for detail is even more critical for a software test engineer, because you have to see something, be able to figure out there's something wrong out here. Everyone can easily see what is right, but where is the issue? That differentiation comes specifically for having an eye for detail, and that will make you an awesome QA engineer. Now, where is the issue? All of you. Error says locator not found. Locator not found. What is the locator? The entire target is the locator. That is how we're locating elements. I've changed single quotes. It's still not working. Capital B. Is that the reason? Let's see. So change it to capital B and fine. Now what is happening? It's just trial and error. Very random. Let's go back and see the HTML code once again. It says submit button. Is it an uppercase B out here or a lowercase? It is an uppercase B, so that is not the right solution for us. Now let's see how we have here and what we have here. Copy this thing again. Put it back. Most of you know the answers, team, and I'm not worried about an answer. When I ask, right, how will we find a solution? It is not the answer that I want. It is the way of finding. It is like giving you the fish or teaching you fishing. Right now, what is the difference? Do you see a single space in front of it? Right? For those of you who could not see it, why you could not see it? Ask yourself that. Are you looking at wrong places rather than focusing on one specific target? You should not be able to take your eyes away into somewhere else when you want to find a problem in one section. So when you could not think about it, that means that you're not looking at it correctly, and be aware of it. Automatically you'll improve. Now let's find, after removing the space, let's see if it works. There you go. Do you see it blinking, everyone? You see the search button blinking? What does it mean? It means that now it is working fine. Now let's rerun this test. We've done some changes, right? Let's rerun this test. See, what I've done is I'm just doing the baby steps, team. We're just starting to crawl a little bit. Once we get comfortable, you'll be able to stand on your 2 feet with some balance, and then we'll start walking and running. So that is how we're going to go about doing our things. So we've done all of this, and it has clicked on this. Now, what is it that we will expect at the end of this? What is the expected result? Show results on a new page, correct? Now, this is going to be interesting. It says, oops, no departure airport selected for the outbound flight. No arrival airport selected for the inbound flight. There is an issue here, okay? So I said SJC. This is what I said. And what was the other one? Let's see, it'll be here. Or DFW SJC. So DFW, Dallas Love Field, and SJC, San Jose. We've put those two. We have exactly put the same 2 adults, 1 senior, and click on search. We got one error. All right, we've received one error, team. Right now we didn't receive this error. So I want to be able to verify that this has come up. Let us say select departing flight Dallas Love Field, Texas to San Jose, California. This is showing up. That is the last step in this test case. So copy this entire thing, take it back to your step and say show results. Expected result is show results on a new page. This text needs to appear. If I've entered DFW, here I'm entering DFW, and here I'm entering SJC. I should get show results on a new page, and this should come up. How do we take this English statement that we as humans understand and teach IDE about it? Click and wait is fine. There should be a new command that comes here to teach IDE about it. The way you do it, team, is now that you have Selenium IDE installed on your Firefox and Firebug, which is there under the web developer option, you go to the text that you want to verify if it is present, right click on it again, When you right click on it, what is something that you're already aware, you're familiar with? Inspect element with Firebug. Do you all see this? Now, what are these commands out here, team, below inspect element with Firebug? What are all these commands, or what is the text down there? I have not talked about it earlier, but now I'm talking about it. Right click on the element that you want to verify and see those commands. These are nothing but Selenium IDE commands. Alright, once you install Firebug and once you install Selenium IDE, you right click on any web element on a web based application will show you these options. You have the option to see all the available commands. And once you take your mouse over it, can you all see the different commands that are here? Open, assert, verify, wait, store. There are 4 different types. I don't want any one of you to be confused about what is assert, what is verify. Just look at it from an English grammar perspective. Okay? Because we will leave IDE in the next few minutes and migrate to Selenium WebDriver. When we do that, we will do all of this in a very structured programming manner. These features are given by Selenium IDE to make people who are not technically strong, which you are not going to be, you're going to become very technically strong in the coming few days. They are given for someone who's very basic level automation. You are not basic level automation, you are at a high end now. So we will do a custom writing just like custom XPath for these. But what do this mean? That is important for us to know. What is it that we want to do? I want to verify that a specific text is appearing. What is the text? Dallas Love Field, comma, Texas to San Jose, comma, California. That is the text. Where? At that specific thing. Now, commands will take the entire thing and put it into our IDE. Let's see, team. So anything which says text, assert text is there. But what is assert? Not sure. Verify text. Do you have experience of verify text already as part of this 2.5 days training? No, you don't know what verify text is. We have not yet seen. So what do? Try and fail. Let's try and see if it works first, right? So click on it. What happens? Do you see, team? A verify text command has come. That is what we are expecting. Okay, at the end of it, we are expecting to verify this. The command is verify text. You can also use the reference to see what it does. I told you in a very plain, simple manner, but more as a definition is provided in the reference manual down below. The target that you see is the way Selenium IDE tries to identify it. We can go and try and find our own target as well, but we'll keep it as is for now. And the value is what text it is expecting. Now let us rerun this test. Once we rerun this test, we will see if this is going to be any different. That is what we expected as a test case. Now let us see what we're getting as the output. If you notice, team, in this automation, there are 3 steps. We are entering the origin airport twice. First DFW, second SJC, and third EWR. And that is the challenge there. Despite entering that, it has still taken over all of this information as is from the previous, because your browser was remembering what information you gave, and it is using that. Give me 1 second, team. So this is where again, team, I for detail. It has shown, but we didn't enter these values. We entered something different. Why is it giving us this? Because it is remembering the information. So the best way for you to clear it, team, is go back, or go back here, and let's put some new information so it gets confused with it. So I'll just put LAX, and let's say from LAX to let's go international. Let's say Tokyo, Japan, none of them. Two. How about China? Oh, this is all. Southwest does not go international, right? That's the reason. Okay, let's say Grand Rapids, and keep this as 3 seniors. This as 1 adult. The reason I'm doing it, team, I'm just changing the default fields. So Selenium, Southwest does not take it as is for the next run. Okay, now this is done. Let's rerun this test once, and we're going to see how it works. Oops, stop. So there are three of this team: DFW, SJC, EWR. Two for origin and one for destination. We don't need two for this. I'm going to delete this. That's the first one. Second one is we're going from DFW to San Jose. So this value here is going to be DFW. That's our origin. The second one is going to be SJC. That's our destination. All right. So we've changed the test case accordingly, and we have made those additions of these two things. There is something called a select window that's come up as null. I have not put this team. I don't know where it came from, because sometimes when you're doing any kind of a record, it automatically starts putting it. Let's keep it like that. No problem on it. Let's go and run from here. Right click. Okay, it'll rerun. That's fine. Let's look at the application while that is happening. Okay, so it's put in DFW to San Jose. Now, what did we expect and what did we get? Do you see this team? That's totally different, correct? And this is where your IDE shows you that a specific command is in red, and it tells you there's a failure. And when you go and look up in the log, it'll tell you exactly why it failed. Actual value is this: did not match Dallas love field so and so. So it expected something, it got something, and hence the test case failed. Do we know why it failed? And this is where testing will come. I will briefly tell you how we go about analyzing it, but we will not focus on that for now. Okay, sorry. There are three reasons, team, why any kind of an application or automation test run will fail. One is that the application itself has a defect. That's one. The second is the code that you write, be it in Selenium IDE, HTML, Core Java, JUnit, Ruby on Rails, whatever be it. That could be wrong. There is an issue in the way you wrote. Okay. The last one is the additional data or the input that you provide to run that specific step. For example, what did we enter for the destination airport? What did we enter for seniors? What did we enter for origin, and so on? That data could be at fault. The first thing that you have to verify before you confirm the application is at fault is if everything is okay with the data and inputs that you provided. That's the first thing, team. The second thing is make sure your automation code is correct. Make sure there's nothing wrong out here. If these two you're confidently saying yes, then the application is at fault, then you can log a defect. Why won't you jump straight to the application being at fault? Because if you do that and submit a defect which is not valid, the developer teams will get a great, beautiful opportunity to have us for a good lunch buffet. They will just freak because they'll say, oh, great, you guys don't know how to test. You just know how to report incorrect effects. See, your automation team is so ineffective. And that is a constant battle we will be in. So you have to make sure what you're doing is correct, and that you can do it only by process. The process is first data and input, next your Selenium code, be it whatever language it is. Finally, be sure that is a defect in the application. Now, first thing, is the data correct? When you enter DFW, San Jose, and so on, it is this the correct value that we're going to enter? No, what is the value that we want to enter? We want to enter as and how it takes. So how does Selenium IDE take it? So if I say DFW, this is the value for it. It's not just DFW. The application takes that and knows what it is referring to, the shortcode for the airport, and puts it there. So we will take that value. So team, if you notice, we are going into the depth of it, how each and every small thing will affect the automation. Okay, so DFW, Dallas Love Field, then we have SJC, which is San Jose. Copy that text back to IDE and put that here. All right, 2 adults, 1 senior. The select window null, I don't know why we have it. submit button. Before it submits, I want to see, team, for a few seconds if it is doing correct or not before it submits. Everyone with me so far, team? Everyone with me so far? All good? We're still on IDE because we want to focus and make sure that this is something we have learned, we have chewed it to the best, and we will just move on then. All right, that's why let's become master at everything that we do. That's the only way we will really grow big in this dynamic world. All right, great. So let's continue. Now, I want to observe what happens to the application before it clicks. For example, when it says type this, type that, select this, I want to make sure it is doing exactly the way I want. Why? It is just like teaching your pet, right? You know that you'll tell your pet to go and, let's say, sleep in that room. Will you trust it blindly to begin with? No, you'll keep observing secretly to see if he or she is doing it, right? For a few times. Once you build the confidence, oh, yeah, I'm sure it will. That's how the confidence will come. But till then, you have to observe. You have to make sure to observe. We have a great tool in any programming language called as breakpoints. Breakpoints are nothing but like stop signs. What happens when you see a stop sign at an intersection? Exactly what is the process, team? You will stop, you will see left, right, straight, and see if there's any cross traffic coming. And then when it is safe, you'll slowly start moving in the direction in which you intend to. Correct? That is exactly what it is here. The test execution will stop at that point. You look for what is essential and then give it an instruction. All right, now it is safe to move forward. That is the breakpoint, which is nothing but a stop symbol in our programming run. Right click on the step you want to put a break on. And do you see this toggle breakpoint? There are also shortcut commands. Don't focus on them right now. Just focus on the real content. Toggle breakpoint. So what is toggling? Toggling is nothing but switch on off thing. All right. Now we are, when I say toggle breakpoint, it is put a breakpoint, like a pause sign out here. Do you see this in the yellow? Now let us run this test case again. Where's the application? There you go. Sorry, team. Okay, so Dallas love field put, Texas Dallas put, San Jose, did it do it? Where are we? So yeah, it's done all of this. It's typed, selected 2 adults, selected 1 senior, and it is ready to execute click and wait. Did it execute click and wait yet or not? No, that is the stop sign. And if it had executed, you would have seen it in green color. It's not yet, correct? Now that you have not seen it to be green, what can you do? You can stop this test or you can say continue. Did it do what you expected it to do? Did you have the confidence on it? Yes. Now let's click on play current test case. It's just continue. Sorry. Play current test case will repeat everything again, team. You just say resume that specific run. Okay. The stop sign is over. So now it'll click and wait. It's loading the new page. Select window and verify text again failed. This application is behaving odd. That's not correct. Why is it doing it? But instead of doubting the application, you don't want to doubt the application at all to begin with, team, because you want to be so sure. And once you're sure that yes, it's a defect, that will give you a glowing smile on your face. But till then, just hold back the emotion because we should be totally sure about it. Now, automation is showing a defect. Why? I expected something, I'm getting something. I gave all the correct information. If I do it manually, will it be the same? Manually, if I'm going to do it, will it be the same? San Jose. I wanted to spend a little bit more time today in how we move to WebDriver, but I'll show it to you very quickly, team. Manoj, are you in the session with me, please? I think you are, right?
Yes, Karthik.
All right, thanks, Manoj. Because I want you to help me in sending out the links to the videos which will help the team install um, the Eclipse IDE, Java, get the jar files and so on, while we will show them tomorrow once again. But just want to make sure that if you have anything as a reference material, we can. But team, that is going to be optional because we will go through it tomorrow at length. Okay, how we install WebDriver to get our WebDriver ready. Okay, so I'm doing it manually now because when I did an automation, it failed. So search. Now it worked. Now will you still no? Why Oakland? Oh, San Jose. Okay, there you go. So manual, it worked. Automation, it did not. Manually, we were able to make it work. But when I did an automation run using Selenium ID, there was an issue, team. And the best way to do it is try and close up your browser, team. Just quit Firefox once and try and reopen it. The reason I'm saying we should do this is because I hope I saved the test case. If I've not, it should not be a big problem because it'll hardly take us a few seconds to reopen it. Because it is trying to remember the old actions very easily. So we want to avoid that. That's the reason we have reopened. Open test suite. The same test suite 1. Let's see test case 3. Okay, those two disappeared. Let's put them very quickly out here. It should not take us too long to do it. First, I'm going to run this test case. So team, do keep saving your test cases before you close, because if you close them, it is not saving it automatically. I don't need this step. If you remember, we took it out. Delete, right click and delete that. Now out here, we're supposed to click on the search button. How do we do it? Very simple. We already created the XPath for it. We kept it here. So I take this. So now you see how quickly we're able to do things. We don't even have to think so much because we've already experienced it. We know exactly how. And sometimes it is good to repeat things because it will give us a lot of control. Any value that needs to be given out here, no value that is need to be given out here. So will it find it? Yes, it finds it. That's good. Next, what do we have to do? Once it goes search. Okay, so same issue comes up. There is a test case, drive. And always embrace challenges that come to your team, because challenges are those stepping stones truly that will make us better. So test cases, luckily this would have got automatically saved. That's a good thing with Google Drive and anything web based, most of the things on cloud. No, so let's do it ourselves. DFW, documentation, lot of emphasis please, because it is all about how well balanced we are in our documentation. That makes us a very good software engineer. And San Jose. So click on search button, verify that so and so is coming. Good, everything good. Now let's click on search again and see if we get the new information. Now what I can do is Selenium ID is open. Click and wait is done. All I need to do is once again right click and say verified text. Whatever you have used recently will come up here. If you want more commands, go to the all available commands. Okay. Now, it is not essential for you to master a lot of these things, team, because we will not stay on IDE for too long. This might be the last session on it, and then we will migrate onto WebDriver. Okay, so select window came up again and verify text came up. Now we have all the information, team. Let's make sure that we put the right information for each of this. So the first one is Dallas Love Field. So instead of says JC, it's Dallas Love Field. The second one is instead of SJC, it's going to be San Jose instead of EWR here. Okay, so this is good. That's good. Everything seems to be in good shape, team. And finally, verify text also. Now, are we good to go? Let's make sure. But before I do that, let's save test case. Let's save test suite as test suite 3. Okay. And I'll also say save test case. This is there. I'm going to save this test case also. Okay, team, I think we're good. So let's try and execute this test case to see what happens once again. And then we will talk about why we should be moving on to Selenium IDE, from Selenium IDE to WebDriver. And we will also talk about why is it going to be essential for each of us to slowly start that movement and make sure that we've installed all the required components for it. The only challenge that I will see, team, in terms of going from IDE to WebDriver is to follow instructions and ask yourself right questions, because you'll have to install a very few simple components. We are there all through to guide you to take care of any kind of a challenge that you face, and that should not be a problem, but please follow instructions. When we start our session tomorrow, I'm going to show you what all needs to be installed and how we go from IDE to WebDriver. Okay, and to do WebDriver, we will use a platform. In our case, we will do Eclipse. I will guide you through the whole process. Now, at this point, our test case is now running fine, so we have avoided a big moment of shame for us had we reported to the developer saying that, hey, you know what, your application sucks. So we didn't have to embarrass ourselves, and this is only because of a process of understanding how you start your questioning from your inputs, your values, your data, then your coding of automation, then the application. So team, at this point, I'm ready for Q&A. I would recommend all of you to try and use the section in the Facebook page. If you're watching the video, if it is live, you can put it here or on the Facebook page. Either one is fine. Yes, Sohag, you're so right. It is all because of cookies. The cookies that are storing the information and retaining it. While we're still entering it, manually it is working. Automation, it was still taking the cookies. And that is something that you can clear when we are doing it through WebDriver very easily. Can you explain toggle point? Toggle point is very simple. I put a breakpoint, for example, out here. Let's say right click on click and wait and say insert or toggle breakpoint. Now the breakpoint has been put. Once I right click again and I click on toggle breakpoint again, it will take it away. So placing, removing. So that is the toggling. It's like on, off. That's what is toggle. What are the questions, team? Let the questions be only relevant to whatever we have covered so far. That way, if you're finishing one topic, once you move on to the next one, you can again put those questions. I downgraded to Firefox 30, still not able to install IDE. Please help at the end or later, please. Sure, Prashant. I think Manoj is already helping you out there on the chat. Anyone has technical challenges, team, use the Facebook page for now. We can also go back to our technical forums on IT-Learn. We will guide you through it. Either way, we will be able to answer wherever is convenient for you. Why need to show Selenium IDE? Sharmin, be very clear with your questions. Guys, please note once again, you are software professionals, especially QA professionals. Your documentation, your written English, your spoken English should be very clear. It doesn't have to have accent or so on, but it should be correct. That is a big differentiator. So when you're asking questions, please take that additional effort to make sure you put it in the right English. Okay, Hitesh, can you show how to distinguish between XPath for depart date and return date? As when I tried it earlier today, they turn out to be the same. I mean, specifically for selecting the dates on the calendar that pops up. I see. I think this is important as it is a little bit different and many can benefit from this. Totally, yes. You're totally right. It is very critical. How do we work with dynamic applications? How do we work with zones and areas when there is when there are elements that are changing or that are duplicates? So what Hitesh is referring to in a very clear English is this: clicking on the departure date, let us say I select 29th here. Now clicking on the return date, let's say I select 29th here. Now, when it is executing, it is probably selecting the same day departure and same day return, maybe. Because the way, in a simple way of XPath writing, it shows there may not be too much difference between this 29 and this 29. And it'll try and pick up the first 29. Hence, we have to give additional information in our XPath to say exactly which one. Is it the first one or is it the second one? And let's now talk about what if I want to go to the next month, November, and then do this. All of this, working with dynamic applications team, we will get to using our WebDriver at a little later point. It's too early for it. All right, Hitesh, good question, important, but it's too early. Can you please confirm whether tomorrow you will talk about WebDriver part? Yeah, of course, it has to happen tomorrow. Now we are done with Selenium IDE. There's nothing more left in Selenium IDE that you need to focus. There are things like assert, store text, verify text, and so on. A little bit JavaScript here and there, not essential. Totally WebDriver from tomorrow. But first, before I get into WebDriver, I need to show you what components to install. I will show you what to do, how to do. I will not do it myself in my system because it will save a lot of time, but I'll have the clear instructions for you. And then the second half, we will go into WebDriver quickly. Before run the test case, do we need to select the very first step? Before run the test case. See again, guys, very clear English, please. Before we run the test case, do we need to select the very first step? No. Before you run the test case, no. When you say run test case, so for example, I'm here. Okay. Let's say I'm here in type. And when I say run test case, it will automatically start from the beginning. But then there are options run test case from here. You can right click here and say set the current or clear start point here. And you can run it from that point. Do you teach one-on-one WebDriver from the beginning to the end for the entire week? I do teach WebDriver from the beginning to the end, and it'll be a few more days than a week, but I do not do one-on-ones, John. During testing, we will never use Selenium ID. We will use Selenium ID, and that is where we will be smart. Okay, end of the day, we have to be efficient. We have to be able to show a lot of reusability for what we do and accurate. So when we need it, we will do it. Specially team for testing our XPaths. You write your XPath in the code before you execute it. You want to make sure is that the XPath correct, because you don't want to run the entire code and see that XPath is wrong. Then we will come put it into target and see if find works. That is how we will do it. Okay. All right, next question. Let me see. A few more questions, team. We're almost towards the end of the session. Any questions that are unanswered means either it's relevant for the session or that's something that I have to take it up in the next class. Videos, of course, don't ask me those questions. It's by default. I'm using Windows 10. Is it compatible? Yes, it should be fine, I guess. I have not used Windows 10, so I'm not sure. But Sanjay, that question, you can definitely put it in the tech forum, the tech help team, and or even Facebook. We will come back to you on that. Using Selenium, we can do only front-end testing, or can we do load test, stress testing, and batch program testing also? So Raj, again, irrelevant to this session, but very quickly, it is functional regression testing. You are basically doing it on the front end, nothing on the back end. Can you please explain once how select is used? Okay, select is very simple. Let's say in this application now, I want to insert a new test case. Okay, and I want to click this non-stop. Now, after we've come to this, a new test case wants to click on non-stop. How do we do it? I can say select and I can click on this element. Okay, it will take that information and put it there. Select. Did it take it? Why didn't it take it? Target, select an element clicking on the browser or click to cancel. Did it take it? No. That's interesting. I'm not sure, team. I've not done select too much also, but this should work, right? It should be a simple thing. Select. See, I've minimized IDE and now it is highlighting. So I want this one. Now let's see if it comes up in IDE. There you go. So the idea has come. What do you want to do? What is the command? You got to select something, right? Or you got to click on it. So you just click on that option and it should take care. That's how the select command works. So once click on select, minimize IDE, then the highlighter will show up on the application and you should be able to do it from there. Okay, last few questions, team, and then we can end the session. Will we get the link? Yes, for the video. I followed the steps, but it's downloading. Why are you asking about .jar files, Prashant, right now? We've not got there yet. We will. When is the next session? Tomorrow. Same time tomorrow, team. We'll continue to do it this week. Maybe we'll have a day's gap just in case we need to do it for your practice. When I'm trying to automate the steps that you have showed, I'm getting some of these commands under target tr4 td7. Yes, that is totally understandable, because when you do record, Selenium IDE uses its own way to identify elements. It is not a bad way, but you have to focus on xPath for some time. All right. Can I install Java in Windows 10 OS? Of course, yes. What are these steps? I don't know what you're referring to there. And how do we see the notes that sir is writing for reference? Okay, Nandita, the way it will work is, once I've completed project 1, which is almost done, I will zip the entire notes and attach it in the itlearn.com website along with the videos so you can download the files and start using them. The reason I don't share them initially, because it's a work in progress document, and any changes that are made by accidental users, it'll affect it. Can you please tell the limitations of IDE? Yes, Muzamil, tomorrow. Is Selenium IDE only for Firefox? Yes, it's only for Firefox. During manual testing, if there are any defects, can we still go ahead and do automation testing? Of course, you can prepare for your automation testing. The preparation, planning, and making sure that the scripts are ready is important. You will not be able to run the automation tests, Raj, but you can prepare for automation. Try selecting using Firebug. So yeah, Sneha, that select command, I've shown it, how it's working. Have they scheduled a webinar of Selenium with Eclipse to create a test automation framework? I don't know who's there, but we do have it as part of schedule. So project 2, we will go into a data-driven framework. One more great session. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. How do we identify hover or a link test? Again, irrelevant to today, because we've not yet got into the advanced topics of how we work with dynamic applications. Hitesh, again, your question is relevant. That's why I'm not answering. Can I get assistant over the call? Would need for practice. Meanwhile, I'm trying to find solution by mind too. Yeah, so Prashant, do me a favor. Write to techhelp@itlearn.com and give very clear explanations with screenshots what versions of browser you're using. We should be able to troubleshoot it, and if need be, we will definitely get onto the call. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for day 3. I really appreciate. Please do note, we did not do any cancellations for some of you who are still guests in here, only because it is going to be too much of a last minute change and it'll happen. If we see you not as a premium member, we will be forced to make the cancellation. So please expect it. If you're someone who's continuing, you've been given the instructions of what can be done, please follow them. Day 4, maybe there'll be a different link to join the session. We will share, we will communicate. Please keep your emails in contact so you know that whatever communication we're sending, we're doing it. I'm not sending WhatsApp alerts because a lot of the people did not add us to the contact list, and it is blocking us from shooting out the WhatsApp alerts. So stick to your email, stick to the Facebook event. That is where we will do the communication. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you back. Thanks all.